Hi, church. In our 2025 Vision Sunday booklet that we handed out, there was a couple different pages. One that highlighted those that have not only been here for 15 years, but and not only those who have served for 15 years, but who have led various ministries. These are deacons. They've taught Sunday school. They started ministries for at least 15 years. And then there's another page of leaders and these leadership changes that have happened within our church in the past year. So I want to talk through both of those. Since this is our Vision Sunday, we just want to give honor to whom honor is due. Last year, we honored our nursery coordinator, Carrie Wrench. She had led the nursery for 18 years. And afterwards, we thought, why do we have to wait till somebody is done to honor them? And so there's this spread in the booklet that we handed out that included those two pages, the faithful for 15 years, and then the change of leadership positions of those that are steadfast and unmovable, according to our theme verse, 1 Corinthians 15:58. First, I want to mention Henry Ash. He first became a deacon in 2005 and just been so faithful. He's rotated off right now, but just been such a faithful man of God. And as far as that ministry of deacon, that position of deacon, he's just been such a blessing in so many ways to our church. I appreciate him so very much. Nicole Burkholder has been our church pianist since the early 90s. I don't know how early in the 90s, but she was very young when she started taking lessons and playing for our church all these years, and I appreciate her playing so much. Just an excellent, excellent church pianist, probably one of the best church pianists out there, and I appreciate the music ministry of Calvary Baptist Church. Ms. Marcella Esticoy has been serving in our Sunday school for 17 years and loves those kids, loves giving herself to them. And then she's been filling in as one of those, temporary secretary that if you can just cover us for a little while till we find somebody else. I guess it's been over 10 years now that she's been doing that, and she is the absolute best person I've ever seen in the front office. I mean, she is incredible in temperament, in tenacity, and just such a wonderful person. I appreciate Ms. Marcella so much. There was one that requested to not be named, threatened us to not name this person, and so we'll just say, generally speaking, that our junior church for the little kids has been handled so very well for over 20 years, and appreciate that very, very much. The Rangels, Brother Cy and Miss Chris Rangel. Brother Cy Rangel, there's too many ministries to count of the ones that he's been involved in, and just as his background of just somebody that wanted to be a blessing to the church and be a right-hand man to my dad when he started the church. He started our discipleship and jail ministries and military ministries and security team and just saw the need and took the lead. And so they came as charter members and stayed for the long haul and still going strong. Appreciate them both so much. But Chris Rangel was the church secretary for my dad for several years and is still our church clerk, still does discipleship. And it's like you look around at where we are as a church, and it's built on the backs of those who are like the Rangels. I just appreciate them so very much. Steadfast and faithful, unmovable. I love them dearly. My dad, our pastor emeritus, Pastor William Wrench, he's been continuing to teach the fellowship class and preaching regularly for us, just faithful to the Lord. My mom, Wendy Wrench, serving in junior church and Sunday school every year since the beginning. I mean, as a church planter's wife, she's been there all along the way and been our church custodian or janitor as the official title. But I think that's just her way of keeping track of everything that's still going on at the church and having her hands in every corner of the church. And that's a great thing. I've appreciated her role so very much. Next is Nathan. He was taught by Randy Kujaku to do the sound way back in the late 90s, and he's been doing it ever since at our church and just does such a good job. He's the one that I want on the soundboard for anything major that's happening, and he's trained several others along the way, and appreciate his work there. and then serving as teacher of the Lively Stones Young Families class. Didn't quite make it. Between him and Greg, I think they've been teaching for about 13 years. So as far as that goes, that hasn't made it to the 15-year mark, but he served in many other areas. And then, of course, we mentioned Carrie serving in the nursery for 18 years before that. And then Brother Pedro Sarmiento, he first became a deacon here at Calvary Baptist Church in 2004. Just been so faithful to the Lord and walking with him ever since. Appreciate Brother Pedro so much. And Dr. Welsh, just the epitome of a servant. The word deacon is all about serving. He's been a deacon since 2006, off and on. And Dr. Welsh, I asked him earlier this year if he'd consider being our grounds leader. Our church remembers Brother Bagley. He used to come with a couple other retired men every single Thursday and trim the lawns, trim the trees. And in their retired years, they just wanted to give themselves to make sure Calvary Baptist Church looked good. And that's the comments we get from so many people when they walk up to our properties. Wow, is this new? It looks clean, and the grounds are so well kept. Those first impressions are so important. And so I gave Dr. Welsh a couple weeks to pray about taking on the responsibility of being our lead groundskeeper. And so I wanted it to not just be that he was helping out the staff, but I wanted him to take the leadership, the ownership of that ministry, and commit to being the one that oversees the entire grounds. And this past year, he took that on. Matter of fact, as I'm recording this video, he's outside doing the lawns right now. And I appreciate that so much. And his wife, Christine, the Welshes, to me, were, they were there since I was 2 years old. Their son, Ryan, was my best friend growing up, so I was at their house all the time, saw their character, wonderful, wonderful people. And so the Welshes have been here since the 80s. Mrs. Welsh began teaching kids on Wednesday nights in the old schoolhouse building and then taught Sunday school, I believe, for 17 years, and then been teaching the Mary Hearts ladies class since about 2012, I believe it is. And so these folks are just an incredible testimony of steadfast, unmovable, faithful servants of the Lord Jesus Christ. And I love them so dearly. There's many others in the church that have been serving that long, and many others who have been leading other ministries for around that 10 or 12 year mark. And I believe that's a strength of a church. When people are settled in their faith, they're sure-footed and stable. And we all need that. I mean, they are great examples for us. Now, we had a leadership role change, a few leadership role changes this past year, with Brother Christian moving down to a church internship, a church planter internship in San Diego. He had worked for such a long time to instill leaders in other areas, and he was doing many things. And our church volunteers and staff have just picked up the tasks and kept on running forward. And I appreciate our church for that. Well, Brother Zach Roberts joined our staff the previous year, but he got married last year. And so now Shay Roberts jumped in to do many of the graphics and social media and helping with the youth now that Brother Christian was gone. She's doing such a good job already. And I'm so thankful for her spirit. I mean, just on board, just so extremely pleasant, and adds to Brother Zach's ministries in ways that we didn't even know we were missing. But it's so great to see them together. I just love it. I'm telling you, we have great days ahead for our church because of Brother Zach and Miss Shay, and I'm just so very excited. Another change this year is in our live stream leadership, and Danya Good and Brandon Roman are kind of tag teaming that, but especially Miss Danya is taking care of a lot of the coordinating and the scheduling and making sure the screens are up to date, and she's also serving as choir secretary and organizing years of choir music, and she also came on as youth staff this year. And so I just appreciate her willingness to coordinate all the volunteers and the screens and just to do whatever needs to be done, sees to the updates every week and making sure everything's ready to go. We're still working through who's going to be doing what and all that, but I appreciate that she's stepping up to the occasion and doing a good job. Brother Paul Heyman had been working with the ushers for a long time already, but then he agreed to oversee all the coordinating of it And he is doing such a great job as well. They have this color-coded system for whose team it is, and they're always recruiting more guys to jump in and be able to have this place to serve. You want to serve? Well, here's a great place. We'll schedule you next Sunday for being an usher, that kind of thing. And he handles all the shifting, the last-minute shifting around, and recently we've had a lot of sickness in our church, and many people were missing. And it was like, I don't know who was even left to usher after all the people were out. But Brother Paul made it happen. So I appreciate Brother Paul so much. I love his spirit to serve and get others involved. And my son is on the list. And so my wife gets a text for the ushers from Brother Paul, coordinating who it is that day. But he's always got something encouraging to say in the text message, always some Bible verse or something that encourages them in the Lord and reminds them about the spiritual nature of what they're doing, and some kind of encouraging thought every week. So he's a great leader, and I appreciate Brother Paul taking over our usher ministries. Brother Emmanuel Estacoy was serving, and he was involved in the process of setting up our whole live stream. And I mentioned last Sunday, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago, that he's already done so much with the live stream. Ever since taking over, he's just thrown himself into the work and coordinating and organizing the live stream room. And he's doing so much. I think he's doing too much. At our church, we don't want to have any one person just in the ministry every single service. We want them to be able to have a time in the service where they're just sitting and worshiping and not being distracted by the work they're called to do. And so I'd like to get Brother Emmanuel even more help. I don't think it's good for someone to be serving every single service. And so he's been in that room basically every week, and we want to try to help his director role be spread around. And so he's done so good. He's not only learning the system himself, but he's also training other people too. So I appreciate his leadership, not just his service, but his leadership. He's making it all happen without ever having to be asked to do it and driven to do it. He's just making it happen. And what a great character. I appreciate Brother Emmanuel so much. And that change happened just this year as well. Brother Rick Foss has been working with the security team for a few years now, and he and Brother Cy have coordinated some training over the years, but it was just more or less official that it transitioned over to Brother Rick this past year in particular. And I appreciate his law enforcement background and help in making sure that we have people in place every single service for whatever might come up. This is anything from small disturbances to patrolling the grounds through the services or preparing if we had an active shooter. We have an off-duty sheriff with us at every service, and that would be our law enforcement first responder. But the security team is also prepared all around the building, and Brother Rick Foss came into that more or less officially just this past year. And next is Brother Jared Burkholder. He was voted in last administration meeting as our children's director or our Sunday school superintendent. And he's been serving in the hallways of the kids' wing every single week all year, coordinating the substitute teachers, helping the teachers, loving the kids, and also keeping order back there. So I appreciate Brother Jared as his role in many, many ways throughout our church's history. He's been so involved, and yet this is just another one of the steps that he's taking. And I think working with kids is just such a great strength of his, and I'm just really looking forward to seeing what the future has for that. And last, I wanted to highlight our financial secretary, or our church treasurer, Callie Jones. She's faithfully served since Dan Colt moved back east. And so this pastor, she and Sid sold their home, moved into a fifth wheel trailer, and have been there for their kids. Praise the Lord. Dakota got married this past year. He's faithful in a church as a police officer in San Diego. Pastor Chris Chadwick goes on ride-alongs with him. He's the pastor of the church that Dakota goes to, as well as the chaplain for the police department there. And he's with them all the time. And then Kelly's son Anthony is stationed back here again. So the grandkids are closer by. They don't have to go out to Hawaii all the time to visit them. But especially with with this past year, it just became evident that Callie wanted to be there with the grandkids and spend the time with them. And so a few months ago, she came to me and said, would it be all right if, since Miss Shea is here now, she had extensive training of doing the finances in a big church in Alabama where she was coming from. And so she said, would it be all right to transition the finances to Miss Shea? And I said, I think that would work out. It would be according to the vote of the church, where Callie would step down as the church financial secretary or as the church treasurer. But she's been in the process for several months now of training Miss Shea on all the end of the year wrap-ups, all the budget stuff, all the monthly reports, all the weekly reports. And so this is a voted position, but if you'd be open to Miss Shea becoming the new financial secretary, then this will be a part of our annual administration coming up in just a couple weeks. I just appreciate Callie so much, her spirit and her kindness and her care of not just the individual details of the numbers of our finances, but the people that it's connected to. That's what you want in a financial secretary, and she's done so well. I appreciate her very much. She's just been steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. Such a blessing. Now, I wanted to take the time to actually go through all the people and talk specifically through that, because you might look at sensational parts of life. You want the big moments, the big events, the moving of God, this emotional outpouring. And God might just be saying, well, hang on. Mark 9:29, this kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting. There are some simpler things we need to get taken care of first, God might be saying. And we might want the big things. And I believe God wants to do some amazing things in our church. Amazing things. I believe he can. And I believe he will. But if our character is not there in the little things, I don't think we can expect the outpouring of God until we've been steadfast, unmovable, faithful for a while. Our theme verse, 1 Corinthians 15:58, puts it like this: Therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, for as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. Well, God bless you as you go forward in 2025 for the Lord.